Hey there, fifth grade. We're in a good place with our custom 3D print project. We should be actually moving pretty quickly towards wrapping this up. We've got a pretty important set of steps to take today, and then we'll add a couple more features, and then we're ready to print. So this today is pretty important. What we're going to do today is we're going to push pull to our depth, our correct sizes for everything. But here's the real important thing, and I'm going to try and show this in a couple different screens. You can see I've got 6 different uh, um, SketchUp drawings open right now, so I can show you some different ideas, some things to think about as you're working through this process. So the basic premises is you're going to go from that 0.1, that 0.1 push-pull that we did to make sure everything was solid, and we're going to push-pull everything to the size that it needs to be. 3 millimeter push-pull is the upward limit. That's what we're going to push-pull to. But then anything that we want separated at different anything that we want to see in our 3D print, we need to push pull to different heights to separate those things. Now this object right here, this ninja that I've got here, it's going to be pretty simple to do. I don't need to do a lot. But with other drawings, with other figures, you're going to need to think a little bit more about how you want things to appear, where you want things to appear, that kind of thing. So we'll get started here, and we're going to use our push-pull tool almost exclusively, and we're going to type in heights a lot. So that's going to be some important stuff to think about as we go through this process. So let's go ahead and get started right here with this ninja. I'm going to start with the push-pull tool. And with my push-pull tool, I'm going to go onto the ninja. I'm going to click and release, and then drag up, and you can see I'm going to make that ninja thicker, right? Printable, right? Now, he was already 0.1, so all I need to add is 2.9. So I'm going to type 2.9, hit enter, and there is the ninja, the size that I want him to be. The next thing I'm going to do is look at this little face section and then the eyes themselves, right? So the face section, I need to separate from everything else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push pull that 0.5 millimeter less. I could go a whole millimeter less if I wanted to, but I'm just going to go 0.5 millimeter less. So I'm going to click and release, drag up, and I'm going to type 2.4 for that 2.4, which would make it 2.5 total push pull for that one. So you can see there's a difference between that mask and where the eye or where the face shows up. You can also see that the eyes aren't quite where we want them at this point. Now, we could make the eyes stand back a little bit, or we could make the eyes stand up. It's up to you to decide that kind of thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one of each. So I'm going to click and release and pull this one, and I'm just going to match it to the top layer. So this will be 3 millimeters push pulled also. So in this example, the eye is standing up a little bit off of the rest of the face. In this one, I'm going to push pull it so that it's actually not. It's actually below the level of the face. So I'm going to click and release, drag up, and I'm going to type 1.9 and hit enter. And that's 1/2 millimeter below the height of the face. So depending on what you want to do, you'd want to do one of those two things. I would tell you you'd want to do both of the eyes at the same push-pull so it doesn't look like one's sticking out and one's sunk into the face. I'd make both of them the same. To me, the thing that makes probably the most sense is both of them sunk into the face so that your eyes are actually behind your face a little bit. That makes sense. But again, these are choices that you're going to need to make when you're push-pulling things to different heights. You're going to need to think about how you want them to appear. So right now, this is in pretty good shape. If I look at the side, you can see that I've got everything push-pulled and it's at different heights, and I can see those different things appearing in my object, which is really, really good stuff. So this 3D print project is in pretty good shape. We're going to step through a couple others that we've looked at before. So this one is one that we've seen before, this little emoji that's like, what's going on? So I'm going to start actually with this center piece because this center portion is the main part of my object. So I'm going to get my push-pull tool, and this section is the section that I'm going to push-pull to 2.9. So that's my 3 millimeter push-pull. Now, all of these internal sections and this outside edge, I'm going to do it at 2.4, right? So I want this back a little bit from the rest of it. So I'm going to do 2.4, enter, and you can see if I turn to the edge, you can see that that's below the rest of it, which is what I'm looking for. I'm going to do this mouth the same. So click and release, pull up, 2.4, enter. These eyes, will be the same. And here's a little trick. If you've got something that you push pull to the same height you want to push pull something else to, you can double click. And look at that, it automatically push pulled to that height. Same thing here, double click. And I can go here, double click. And I can go here and double click as well. Now all of those are push pulled to the same height. But this hand here, I want actually this to be above the face. If you think about it, it's going to be kind of like on top of your face, right? So I'm going to click and release and pull this one up. And first thing I have to do is match it to the rest of the face. I can't push pull it above without matching it. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it won't. So I've done that. And now what I want to do is I want to push pull this a 0.5 millimeter higher. So I'm going to type 0.5 and hit enter. And now you can see that that's push pulled above the face. So it'll look like that is above the rest of the face, the rest of the emoji when I print this. So I've got everything where I want it to be now. You can see again from the side what this is going to look like as I print this. All those internal features, the frowny face, the eyebrows, the eyes, they're all below the surface of this main section. This offset is below as well. And then the hand appears above the rest of the face of this emoji. So that's what I'd want that one to look like. We're going to look at a couple more though, because there's other things to think about. So here's my little Arctic fox that I was working on. And again, I go to my push-pull tool, and the main body is what I want to have at that 3 millimeters. So I'm going to click and release on the main body, drag that up, and this is the 2.9. That 2.9 makes everything into 3. Now, anything that's not at that same level is not going to print the same way. So the first thing I'm going to look at is this back leg. So I'm going to click and release and drag this back leg up, and I want this at that 2.4, so that's 0.5 millimeter below, and this, the foot would be the same. So click and release, 2.4, enter, and that's where I am. Now all these other sections, except for the eye and the nose, which I guess I can go ahead and do those, I'll just double click this one to make that 2.4, and double click this to make it 2.4 as well. And actually, the ear right here, this inside of the ear, and these facial offsets, those all work pretty well at that 2.4 measure as well. So again, if I look at the edge, you can see that nose is a little bit below, and the eyes are a little bit below, and all of those features also a little bit below. We can see that leg, that back leg is a little bit below the rest of it, and we're in good shape. But these features right here, I want to push pull those to a different height as well to keep separation between everything else. So I'm going to click and release here, and this one I'm going to do at 1.9. And again, if you're hearing similar numbers, everything that I'm doing is basically going to end up being 2.5, 2, 2.5, 3 in those ranges, so 0.5 millimeter away. So that's where I want these other ones. I'm going to double click here to make that 1.9 push pull also. And I'm just going to pan a little bit, do the same thing here, double click. And then I've got one more section that's outside of the ear. So let's get onto that guy, and we'll double click here. And again, now what I would tell you to do is rotate so you can look at the side and see, okay, so that's going to print below that. All of those are going to print below. And we can see separation between the legs and the other features that we want to be able to see on this beautiful Arctic fox. So again, how you push pull things, you need to think about where you want things to appear and how they look as you do that. You know, we're going to look at 2 more because why not? So here's a little crewmate, I guess his name is, and again, looking at the same thing. So we're going to start here, click and release. I'm going to do this at 2.9. I want this at 2.9 also. And I'm going to put the face shield at 2.9 also, because I've got this black boundary edge that I can just push pull to a different height, and then everything else can be at that same height. So I'm going to click and release, drag this up, and this I'll put at 2.4. And again, look at my edge, and you can see, oh, that did not work at all. Let's go back and try that one again. 2.4. There we go. And let's take a look. And now we can see nothing has worked, right? So I'm just going to click undo a bunch of times. Try this one more time. And this one I wanted at 2.9. Okay, let's try this one more time. There we go, 2.9. Wow. 2.9, enter. There we go. Hopefully, double click, and then this guy here is 2.4. Now we finally have what we were looking for all along. So again, you can see that those regions stick up slightly from the rest of our crewmate here, and we're in good shape. Different things to think about, different projects, depending on what you do. So here's some Grogu, right? So what do we want to appear at the most front? I would say probably his body would naturally be the thing that's the most at the front. So I'm going to click and release, drag this up, and type 2.9. Now I want to make his face and hands at that 2.4. So we'll click and drag this up to 2.4. Somehow that didn't work. Let's try again. 2.4. Okay, that did not work at all. All right, sometimes just changing your angle helps. So click and release, 2.4, enter, that worked. Click and release, drag up, 2.4, enter. Go over here and catch this other hand, click and release, drag up, 2.4, enter. And again, the eyes for me, I'd like them to sit back, but maybe you want them up higher. It's up to you to think about that. Click and release, drag that up. And I'm going to make that that's 1.9. There we go. And same thing here, 1.9. So again, we've got the eyes set back in a little bit. The hands are down from the body, and the body is the primary thing at 3 millimeters. Different things to think about as we work through this process. We'll look at one more, and I promise this will be the end. And this one is a different concept. So again, what you're doing and how you want it to appear depends on what specifically you're looking at, what your object is, how much detail you added, all those kinds of things. So I'm going to start with the ball. Make the ball stick out the most, so I'm going to bring that to 2.9 millimeters. That's not at all what happened. So something's going goofy here. 2.9, there we go, that's what I want. And I'm going to make this top edge of the glove, I'm going to make that slightly below, so we'll make that the 2.4, 2.4. Now, these strings can be, they're above, so I can drag both of those to 2.9. Then I'll double click this one. Okay, that didn't work, so we're going to do 0.5. And so now we can see again what it looks like. We've got that ball sticking out. We've got those strings there. And then this, the rest of the body of this glove is going to have to be less than that. So I'm going to click and release, drag that to 1.9. And then these strings here, maybe those are going to be 1.4. So that they are behind the rest of the glove, or look to be behind the rest of the glove. This potentially you did a lot more detail work, in which case you'd have to think about different layers as well, and how you want this to look with your push-pull. So this is what we're doing, separating regions with our push-pull, so that we can see everything that we separated out has to be at a different push-pull height in order for us to be able to see it when we print it. So pretty important stuff. Can't wait to see what you got working. If you have questions, talk to Mr. Emerson, Mr. Kizuka, and we'll do everything we can to get you where you need to be with your custom 3D print projects. That's it, guys.